9 animals, no land, no permits, no livestock license, and 1 operator in a Chicago apartment closet, clearing over $12,000 a month. Most people who hear that immediately assume it is fake. They assume you need acres, tractors, barns, investors, or some agricultural degree to build animal-based income. You do not. The people in this video started with a shelf, a spare room, a garage, or a backyard smaller than most parking spaces. Every figure you are about to hear is tied to a real operator. Every system has already been tested. Every mistake has already been paid for by someone else. So you do not have to repeat it. Stay until number 1, because that operator found a supply gap so large that most of his industry is still being filled by imports. The demand already exists. The contracts already exist. The only missing piece is operators willing to move before the market catches up. Guinea Fowl, Nigerian Dwarf Goats, Ornamental Shrimp, Axolotls, Crayfish, Crickets, Escargot Snails, Silkworms, Pheasants, 9 animals, 9 income systems, 1 integrated biological machine that can run in less space than most apartments. Let us go. Number 9, Guinea Fowl. Most backyard business ideas die before they start because of one thing nobody talks about enough: legal restrictions, HOA rules, municipal codes, livestock bans, zoning regulations. That wall kills most people before they ever make a dollar. Guinea fowl walk straight through that wall. Under federal classification, guinea fowl are considered game birds, not standard poultry. That changes everything. In many municipalities, the restrictions that shut down chicken operations simply do not apply the same way to guinea fowl. And the income stream is not eggs. It is pest control. A small flock can consume thousands of ticks daily during peak season. One operator in North Carolina started with 6 birds next to the garage because he had a tick problem in his own yard. Neighbors noticed a difference within weeks. Then the neighbors started paying him monthly to let the birds patrol their properties. He expanded to 12 birds and locked in recurring contracts with nearby homeowners. Feed costs stayed low. The birds did the labor themselves. His daily workload dropped to under 10 minutes. The real opportunity is not suburban neighbors. It is premium properties, horse farms, dog kennels, organic vegetable farms, places where chemical tick control is expensive or unwanted. One Virginia operator combined property contracts with egg sales to local restaurants and turned a tiny flock into a recurring monthly income stream from less space than a backyard shed. The biggest mistake with guinea fowl is permanent confinement. They are not efficient if they never roam. Build a secure night enclosure because predators love them, but let them free range during the day if regulations allow it. The real sales tool is documentation. Motion-activated cameras showing the birds hunting pests become your marketing system. The North Carolina operator started with a single tick problem in his own yard and ended year 1 with over $3,000 in net profit from birds most people ignore completely. Number 8, Nigerian Dwarf Goats. Most people think goats require land, full barns, large pastures, agricultural permits. Standard goats do. Nigerian dwarf goats change the equation because of their size. One Tennessee homesteader built an entire operation from a used backyard shed purchased online. 2 does and 1 buck. That is it. At first, the income came from milk. But milk alone is where most operators stop. And stopping there is exactly why most people never scale. The real money came when she converted the milk into shelf-stable products. Goat milk soap completely changed the economics of the operation. Instead of selling a perishable product locally, she started shipping nationwide through an online store. That is when the physical farm stopped being the business, and the product became the business. The goats created the raw material. The internet handled the scale. Then came breeding stock. Registered Nigerian dwarf kids command premium pricing because serious breeders pay for bloodlines and genetics. One small backyard setup suddenly became 3 simultaneous income streams: milk, soap, and breeding stock. And eventually, the operation scaled far beyond what the goats themselves should logically produce because the bottleneck became packaging time, not milk production. That is the important lesson. Most people try to scale animals. Smart operators scale products. The daily labor stayed surprisingly small. Milking, feeding, water checks, security checks. That is it. The biggest mistake is relying on one revenue stream. Milk margins alone get squeezed quickly. Processed products create the real leverage because they multiply the value of every gallon produced. Number 7. Ornamental shrimp. This is the point where most people realize the entire definition of livestock is about to change. One shelf, a few tanks, tiny freshwater shrimp. That is the whole setup. The key here is genetics. Most beginners sell standard shrimp at commodity prices. The operators making real money are selectively breeding color morphs that collectors and aquarium hobbyists pay premium prices for. Same tank, same water, same shelf, completely different pricing. An operator in Ohio started with a handful of shrimp in a small apartment tank. Over time, selective breeding created higher value color strains. Orange Fire, Blue Dream, chocolate variants. Eventually, the shrimp themselves became less important than the genetics behind them. Collectors were no longer buying shrimp. They were buying lineage. Then he discovered the second layer of income, starter colonies. Instead of selling single animals, he sold entire breeding systems complete with instructions. Customers were not purchasing pets anymore. They were purchasing the opportunity to reproduce the system themselves. That changed everything. The infrastructure remained tiny. Shelving units, compact tanks, minimal daily maintenance, no yard required. The biggest mistake in shrimp breeding is staying in low-end commodity genetics. The premium market rewards rarity, documentation, and consistency. Once the breeding lines stabilize, the same physical space can generate exponentially more revenue without expanding the footprint at all. Number 6. Axolotls. If you have never heard of axolotls before, that alone tells you how early this market still is. These amphibians exploded in popularity online, but supply still struggles to keep up with demand, especially for rare morphs. Different morphs command wildly different pricing. Common variants remain affordable. Rare genetics reach premium collector-level numbers. A California breeder turned a standard 2-car garage into a controlled breeding system using compact tanks and water chillers. The biggest challenge was not breeding. It was temperature control. That is a mistake that wipes out beginners. Axolotls require stable, cool water. Heat spikes destroy entire batches quickly. Once environmental stability was solved, the system became predictable. The interesting part is how multiple markets form around the same animals. Standard pet sales created the baseline income. Rare morphs created the premium margins. Breeding pairs created the high-ticket revenue. That last category changed the economics completely. Experienced hobbyists pay heavily for stable breeding pairs because it shortcuts years of genetic work. The daily labor remained surprisingly low once the system stabilized. Feeding, water monitoring, juvenile sorting. The infrastructure mattered far more than physical acreage. And again, the entire operation fit inside a standard garage. Number 5. Crayfish. Most operators approach crayfish completely wrong because they only see one market. The smart operators discovered there are actually multiple industries buying the same infrastructure output simultaneously. Food markets want edible crayfish. Aquarium stores want ornamental color morphs. Completely different customers. Completely different pricing. Same tank system. A Florida operator split his tanks between restaurant production and electric blue ornamental crayfish for aquarium stores. Anything that failed restaurant grading still had value elsewhere. That is the important principle. In strong biological systems, waste becomes inventory. Nothing gets discarded because every grade has a buyer somewhere. The biggest operational challenge is overcrowding. Crayfish become aggressive under poor density management, which means weekly sorting becomes mandatory. But once the stocking density is controlled properly, the system becomes highly predictable. The daily workflow stayed simple. Feeding, oxygen checks, harvesting mature animals, sorting juveniles. Again, the operation required almost no land at all, just controlled water volume. Number 4. Crickets. This is where the entire business model flips upside down. Most people raising crickets stayed trapped in the feeder insect market, competing on the lowest possible margins. The operators making serious money stopped selling insects and started selling protein. Cricket flour changed the economics completely. One Texas operator built a production system inside her dining room using climate control bins and dehydrators. Instead of targeting reptile owners, she targeted health food and supplement companies. The difference in pricing between live feeder crickets and processed cricket protein was massive. Then organic certification pushed margins even higher. Her limiting factor eventually became processing capacity, not insect production. That is the signal you want in any business. When demand outruns infrastructure, expansion becomes mathematical instead of speculative. The daily labor stayed manageable. Feed, humidity checks, harvesting mature insects, processing batches. The biggest mistake is staying in the commodity feeder market forever. That market becomes a race to the bottom on pricing. Processed food products become a quality market instead. One direction compresses margins, the other expands them. Number 3. Escargot snails. This might be the cleanest legal profile of anything on this list. Snails occupy a strange position where they often avoid the regulatory pressure that affects traditional livestock. A Chicago apartment operator built a multi-unit escargot system entirely inside closet-scale rack setups. The target customers were local French restaurants. That matters because local restaurant supply chains reward consistency more than scale. Chefs do not necessarily need massive suppliers. They need reliable suppliers. The premium trick in escargot production is purging. Holding harvested snails under controlled feeding conditions before delivery dramatically increases restaurant quality and pricing. That small operational detail creates a major revenue difference without adding infrastructure. The daily labor remained extremely small. Misting, feeding, calcium monitoring, harvesting. The biggest mistake is using inconsistent breeding stock. Stable genetics matter because inconsistent growth destroys restaurant specifications. And once again, expansion became simple. More totes, more racks, linear scaling, no farmland required. Number 2, silkworms. Almost everyone in this market focuses on feeder sales and ignores the most valuable output entirely. The silk itself is the real opportunity. One Oregon operator discovered that feed costs could nearly disappear after establishing backyard mulberry propagation. Once the trees matured, the operation became incredibly cheap to maintain. The interesting part is that silkworms create 2 products simultaneously. The cocoons generate silk fiber for textile artists and specialty craft markets. The pupae generate feeder sales for reptile owners. 2 revenue streams from one production cycle. Most operators only monetize one side and throw away the second. That single mistake destroys profitability. The infrastructure stayed simple. Trays, drying racks, incubation equipment. The daily labor was tiny compared to the output. And because mulberry trees propagate easily, the feed system itself eventually becomes self-sustaining. Number 1. Pheasants. This is a system with the biggest structural opportunity in the entire video. Hunting preserves across the United States release millions of pheasants every year, and a huge percentage of those birds are still imported because domestic production has not caught up with demand. That means preserves are actively searching for reliable local suppliers right now. One Pennsylvania operator built a compact backyard pheasant system using small outdoor runs and split his business into 2 completely separate channels. Restaurants purchase processed birds. Hunting preserves purchase flight-ready juveniles. That second market changes everything because preserves need constant restocking throughout the season. The same infrastructure suddenly serves 2 industries simultaneously. The legal classification matters too. Like guinea fowl, pheasants often fall under game bird categories instead of standard livestock frameworks. The biggest mistake is choosing only one market. Operators who only sell processed birds leave preserve revenue untouched. Operators who only target preserves ignore premium restaurant pricing. The highest performing systems combine both. And this is the part most people miss entirely. None of these systems truly operate alone. Once multiple systems connect together, the economics change dramatically. Waste from one becomes feed for another. Water from aquatic systems irrigates plants. Insect systems support fish systems. Compost supports feed production. Suddenly, feed costs begin collapsing across the entire network. That is when the operation stops behaving like separate businesses and starts behaving like one integrated biological machine. That is the real opportunity hiding underneath everything you just heard. Not one animal, not one product, not one side hustle. An interconnected ecosystem where every output strengthens the next system in line. And the operators already building these systems are not waiting around. They are securing contracts, building breeding lines, locking in customers, establishing supply relationships before competition arrives. That is always how early markets work. The first wave captures margins. The second wave fights over leftovers. If you made it this far, you already think differently than most people watching. Most people consume information for entertainment. A smaller group consumes information looking for leverage. Those are the people these systems reward. Subscribe to Livestock Labs right now because this channel documents real operators, real systems, real numbers, and real mistakes every single week. Miss one video, and somebody else in your market may already be building the exact system you should have started first. Hit like if you want more verified animal income systems. Share this with somebody who keeps saying they need more land, more money, or more experience before they can start building income. And the next video goes even further. 3 new animal categories. Quarter-acre expansion systems. What happens when these operations scale into fully integrated properties, where every system feeds the next one? The numbers stop growing linearly. They start compounding. That video is coming next. Subscribe to Livestock Labs now, so you do not miss it.